Good evening. Welcome to the QCIS channel. On this channel, get a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. My name is Leon Jones, and tonight I'm going to talk about two types of eclipses, the lunar and solar eclipse. Now, if you were watching my video last night I did on the eclipse glasses scam, I'm going to show you what a pair of eclipse glasses look like. This is a pair of eclipse glasses. Now, how do you know if they're real or not? I put everything up. You see where it says ISO right here. ISO certified, FDA approved. It's real glasses. So when you put these glasses on, you're not going to be able to see anything. And these glasses have been tested. Now, my company gave me these glasses, but the eclipses, not just the solar, but we have lunar eclipses coming up. Let me go ahead and share my screen and let's get into it. All right, I want to talk about solar and lunar eclipse. So basically, a solar eclipse occurs when the moon passes between the sun and earth, casting the moon's shadow on earth. Now, a solar eclipse can only happen during a new moon. Now, the moon's orbit is tilted 5 degrees to Earth's orbit around the sun. Therefore, a solar eclipse is a relatively rare phenomena, and a total or annular eclipse are even more rare, with the hybrid eclipse the rarest of all. Now, to understand the difference between a total and annular eclipse of the sun, it must be understood that the moon has an elliptical orbit around the Earth. In fact, the moon's distance from the Earth varies from a minimum of 221,000 to a maximum of 252,000 miles. Therefore, the moon's apparent size in our sky will vary by 13%. Again, the moon's apparent size in the sky or our sky will vary by 13%. So when the moon's orbit is toward the minimum distance of the Earth, the moon will appear visually as a larger disk than the sun. Now, if an ellipse occurs during the time, it will be a total solar eclipse because the moon has totally obscured the sun's disk, producing the beautiful solar corona ejecting outward from the sun. So, one important element to remember, though, is that the moon's shadow will obviously become narrower as it is cast from the moon to Earth. Now, in the shape of a cone, with the wide end being at the moon and the narrow end on Earth. Therefore, the path of totality on the Earth is narrow. So it is also very short lived as the moon is moving quickly away from its location of being situated between the sun and the Earth. Now, an annular solar eclipse is different than totality, that it occurs where the moon is closer to its maximum distance from the Earth and its orbit. So, if an eclipse happens during this situation, the moon will appear visually smaller than the sun, and its shadow cast will not be long enough to reach Earth. What reaches Earth is the aldebaran or negative shadow, and that is the aldebaran or negative shadow. Now, if you're within the aldebaran shadow, you will see a solar eclipse where a thin ring or annulus of bright sunlight surrounds the moon. Now, what is an annulus? An annulus in geometry is a donut. Now, if you were looking at a pipe, you'd have an inner diameter of one pipe and a diameter of an outer pipe. That's what an annulus is. Now, here's something that you need to know. When you see when you see that shadow again, that ring is going to be annular, and it's going to be a bright sunlight that surrounds the moon. Therefore, the annular solar eclipse, they're still spectacular in that they are almost total, but the solar corona is not seen due to the brightness of the annulus. Like a total eclipse, the annular solar eclipse will have a narrow path on Earth with short duration. Most often, it is less than 10 minutes. Now, here's another one. A hybrid eclipse is especially rare in that the annular eclipse can change to a total eclipse or vice versa along the ecliptical path due to the Earth's curvature. Earth may move through the autumnal shadow, which is an annular eclipse, or the umbral shadow, total eclipse, along different points of the eclipse path. So, do not observe a solar eclipse with a naked eye. Serious eye damage can result. Use approved filters or cut a pinhole in a shoebox and watch the sunlight cast through the pinhole onto a smooth surface such as cardboard. The only portion of a solar eclipse which is safe to view without filters is the brief time during totality. Otherwise, all partial eclipses or partial solar eclipses need approved filters. Approved filters look at the certification of Internal Standard Organization 12312. So the next solar eclipse that's going to be visible in the United States is going to be Monday, April 8th, 2024. Now, this is what they're talking about. You use these. These are approved by the ISO. Now, what I'm going to do is keep this link at the bottom of my comment section. Now, what I have here are a list of total and annular solar eclipses and locations for best viewing. Now, they go all the way back to 2019, all the way up to 2027. So that's 8 years worth of eclipses. So if you're in any of these regions, you can still see the total and annular eclipses. Now, something else we need to talk about. We just talked about the solar eclipse. Now let's get into the lunar eclipse. That occurs when the sun casts Earth's shadow onto the moon. For this to happen, the Earth must be physically between the sun and the moon, where all three bodies are lying on the same plane of orbit. So a lunar eclipse can only occur during a full moon and when the moon passes through all or a portion of the Earth's shadow. Now remember, for the solar eclipse, you need a new moon. Now, what's basically a new moon? A new moon is a dark moon. You can't see it. That's what a new moon is. Now, a full moon is one that we always talk about, the legend of the werewolves. You can see, and that's for the lunar eclipse again. Solar eclipse, you need a new moon. Lunar eclipse, you need a full moon. Again, solar eclipse, new moon, lunar eclipse, full moon. Now, during a lunar eclipse, the outer portion of the shadow cast from Earth is known as the penumbral shadow, which is an area where Earth obstructs only part of the sun's light from reaching the moon. Now, the umbral shadow is the inner shadow, which is the area where Earth blocks all direct sunlight from reaching the moon. So, a penumbral lunar eclipse is subtle and very difficult to observe. Now, a partial lunar eclipse is when a portion of the moon passes through the Earth's umbral shadow. Finally, a total lunar eclipse is when the entire moon passes into the Earth's umbral or umbral shadow. Now, during a total lunar eclipse, the sequence of eclipses are penumbral, partial, total, partial, and back to penumbral. Now, unlike solar eclipses, a total lunar eclipse lasts a few hours, with totality itself usually averaging anywhere from about 30 minutes to over an hour. This is due to the large relative size of Earth over the moon. Now, the moon's diameter is only about 2,150 miles, therefore, casting a large umbral shadow on the moon is because the Earth is so large, you're going to see a longer eclipse. Now, in addition, lunar eclipses, the difference, they're more frequent than your solar counterparts. Again, lunar eclipses are more frequent than their solar counterparts. There are 0 to 3 lunar eclipses per year, although possibility not all are at the same location on Earth, where the moon passes through least at least a portion of the Earth's umbral shadow. Again, when we deal with lunar eclipses, they're not all on the same location on planet Earth. Of course, where the moon passes through at least a portion of the Earth's umbral shadow, producing a partial to total eclipse. Now, as I stated above in this article, in the solar eclipse explanation, the moon's orbit is tilted 5 degrees from Earth's orbit. So for an eclipse to occur, the moon and Earth have to be in the same orbital plane with the sun so that the Earth's shadow can be cast onto the moon from the sun. This is why lunar eclipses only occur on average 1 to 2 times a year instead of every month. Now, what do they mean? They mean same orbit, sun, Earth, moon. That's what they're talking about. Now, even though the moon is immersed in the Earth's umbral shadow, indirect sunlight will still reach the moon, thus illuminating it slightly. This is because indirect sunlight reaches the moon and also the Earth's atmosphere, and it will bend a very small portion of sunlight onto the moon's surface. So, many times during lunar totality, the color of the moon will take on a dark red hue or brown orange color. Now, as sunlight passes through the Earth's atmosphere, the blue light is scattered out. Now, the amount of illumination of the moon, it's going to vary depending on how much dust is in the Earth's atmosphere. Now, the more dust present in the atmosphere, the less illuminated the moon will be. Now, of course, here's one difference, a big difference between a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse. Now, the solar eclipse cannot see with a naked eye. It will damage your eyes. However, lunar eclipses are safe to be viewed by the naked eye. You can even use a telescope or binoculars. Now, below, there's a table which shows partial and total lunar eclipses visible in the United States. And here's that table. It goes all the way from 2019 to 2029. Again, you're going to know everything because I'm going to post this information in the comments section at the bottom of the video. And again, we have 2 types of eclipses. We have the solar eclipse and we have the lunar eclipse. Now, again, there's a 5-degree tilt of the moon with the solar eclipse. Now, basically, the moon is going to appear larger. You're going to have a blockage of the sun where you're going to see the edge of the sun. And then when we get into the annular eclipse, again, if you don't know what an annulus is, an annulus or annulus, it's a donut shape. So in engineering, if I have a pipe or if I have a regular donut, you're going to have a inner diameter, and then you're going to have a diameter to go out to the outer portion of the donut. That's what an annulus is. That's what you get when you deal with lunar eclipses and solar eclipses. Now, there's a hybrid eclipse. Um, when it comes to lunar eclipses, most of us, you don't really hear about the hype with the lunar eclipses because they occur much more frequent than the solar eclipses. Now, the next solar eclipse that's going to appear. Now, I was watching the news, they said in 2099. No, but that's here. Well, the solar eclipse is going to occur in other places this year, next year, and I got all the information up to 2028. So if you're traveling, you may be able to see the solar eclipse 3 times or even 4 times. But basically, when we deal with eclipses, we deal with 3 bodies: the sun, moon, earth. Now, again, just to review everything, when we deal with a solar eclipse, the moon is a new moon. When we deal with a lunar eclipse, the moon is a full moon. Now, generally, it takes less time for the shadow of the sun to be passed by the earth, or actually by the moon. It takes a little longer during a lunar eclipse. Why? Because the moon, the earth, and the sun, they all line up together, same orbit. Now, you must understand that when we deal with astronomy, most of your orbits, your planets, they all orbit around the sun, not circularly, but elliptically. Now, it would take some a little longer. To further back from the sun, it takes much longer. And yes, Pluto might be getting off. They call it a dwarf star, and I believe there's another planet out there that they discovered. You know, astronomy is a very good course. There's a lot out there in the universe that we don't know. I believe there are other solar systems out there. So there's most likely more than one sun. You have a lot of stars, the Milky Way, areolas. You're not familiar about an areola? Your areolas are your northern lights and your southern lights. We can't see them from here, so you have to either, you want to see the areolas, you're going to have to get close to the Arctic Circle, or you're going to have to go down there toward Antarctica. Now, I believe in Australia, you can see the southern areolas. If you go up to Alaska, you can see the northern areolas, or some places in Sweden. Very, very neat phenomenon if you're into astronomy. But again, when we deal with eclipses, just to review everything, eclipses involve sun, moon, and the earth. And they do occur. Now, again, lunar eclipses occur more frequently than solar eclipses. Something else. Again, you're going to watch the eclipse, the solar eclipse, get some of these, make sure they are approved by ISO 12312-2. ISO is International Standards Organization. That means they're tested, they're safe. Watch the fakes out there. You cannot look directly into the sunlight during a solar eclipse, it will damage your eye, and it could damage your eyes permanently. Now, when it comes to the lunar eclipse, very safe to look with a naked eye. You can use telescopes and binoculars. And again, thank you for viewing this topic on the lunar eclipse and solar eclipse. If you're going out there on April 8th, which is Monday, to see eclipse, just be safe and just learn about what occurs during an eclipse. And the best place to learn it is right here on this channel. I'm giving you an overview. And again, the information will be posted at the bottom of my video in the comment section. So once again, thank you for viewing this content on lunar and social eclipses. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you are looking for some social, some political, and even some relationship content, you can check out my main channel. And of course, the scam series. It's all on the 411 Talk Zone Radio Show channel. Now, if you cannot find the 411 Talk Zone Radio Show channel or the QCIS channel on YouTube, you can check both of those channels out on my Twitter page. Twitter is now X. Now, since the QCIS channel is an educational channel, you can also find this channel, QCIS channel, on my LinkedIn page. And once again, thank you for viewing this content of solar and lunar eclipses from the QCIS channel. On this channel, you get a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. Until next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you all to have a wonderful and gracious evening.